E60 M5 has been a dream car of mine for a very long time. In fact, I've nearly bought one on 2 separate occasions, but the potential financial black hole kept me away from either one. With prices rising steeply for decent examples, especially the sought-after 6-speed manual cars, I think it's only a matter of time before people realize that BMW's motorsport-influenced yet fragile super sedan has overshadowed an intriguing alternative. The C6 Audi S6 features a 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10 making 435 horsepower and 398 pound-feet of torque while revving out to 7,000 RPM. Although impressive, as you can probably already start to tell from those numbers, despite the cylinder count, this was not meant to be Audi's answer to the faster and substantially more expensive M5. Instead, it fits somewhere between the 550i and the M5. The RS6, which never came to the US, was Audi's true M5 fighter. Given its cylinder count and place at the top of the C6 lineup in the US, I think its true role may have been somewhat lost in translation, partially explaining how it's flown under the radar of so many enthusiasts. Despite being down on power compared to the M5, the additional torque down low and all-weather capability of the Quattro all-wheel drive makes the S6 a car that you can use anywhere, anytime. In addition to that, the durability and reliability of Audi's 5.2 is shockingly good. Its issues are relatively few, and catastrophic failures are basically unheard of. Now obviously, being a V10, it's inherently a bit more expensive to maintain regularly, but this engine has far less baggage and headaches than the racier and more temperamental S85 in the BMW. I have a full video going into detail on the S6's common issues, linked above if you're interested. So, while the 5.2 may lack the crazy, high-revving motorsport character of the S85, it's no slouch. And with a tasteful exhaust setup, it makes a unique, beautiful sound. With the weight, drivetrain loss of this 6-speed auto, and all-wheel drive, it's not going to be the fastest thing around, but that's not really what it's about. I'll put it this way, blasting through a foot of snow, V10 soundtrack behind you, it's a special, unique experience that is hard to reproduce at any cost. The 6-speed automatic could be a deal breaker for you, but I'd argue that it shouldn't be. It obviously lacks the speed and the responsiveness of a modern auto or DCT, but it's well suited to this car. The paddles are responsive enough to have fun, the drive and sport modes are smooth and well tuned, and it makes a wicked sound when shifting at high RPM. For a car that you could and should use every day, this is a great transmission, especially considering its age. It certainly doesn't ruin the car in the way that BMW's SMG transmission very nearly does. In addition to that, the interior is without a doubt better built and higher quality than the E60 as well. I owned an E60, and many of the materials inside really didn't belong in a car that was at one time very expensive. What the S6 lacks in comparative speed and numbers, you might be beginning to see, it makes up for in a lot of other ways. And again, bear in mind, this is coming from someone that's admittedly been obsessed with the M5 since they were like 15 years old watching YouTube videos in class. However, having driven both and put thousands of miles on S6s, the Audi is the one I'd rather live with every day. The E60 M5 was more of an outright supercar in its performance, dynamics, and maintenance needs. It just happened to have a sedan shell around it. Whereas the S6 is a super sedan in a more muted, traditional sense. It sacrifices some of the drama and engagement for durability and year-round, everyday usability. Higher mileage examples can be found for as little as $12,000 to $15,000, with low mileage ones in the mid-20s. And because of how stout that 5.2 is, when they're taken care of, if you find a higher mileage one with great records and ownership history, you don't have to run away. You could actually buy one with over 100,000 miles, and if you're buying the right car, you really don't have to worry about it. In fact, the last one that my family had was bought with over 100,000 miles on it, and it was sold with over 180,000 on a V10 Audi. During those 80,000 miles, the car needed nothing but regular maintenance and tracking down an oil leak or two as you would with any high mileage car. Literally nothing special maintenance-wise. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that thing was cruising around with well over 200,000 miles these days. Now, they're very different cars. I'm not saying it's outright better than the M5 or anything else for that matter. Just this. Interesting cars are getting more expensive, both old and new. The S6 V10 exists in a forgotten middle ground, with every manufacturer moving to either electric vehicles or yet another platform-shared crossover blob of some sort. This is your chance to own something truly special for an absolute bargain. There may have been a time when the S6 was newer that you'd have had to make excuses maybe for why it wasn't quite as fast as the competition or what people perceived as its competition, but that's irrelevant now. A mom in a Tesla Model Y, caramel latte in hand, and 3 kids in the back will bury your favorite old M or RS cars. That's why those cars, like the S6, aren't about the numbers anymore. It's about enjoying the product of the ridiculous German arms race that produced not 1, but 2 naturally aspirated V10 sedans. So if you can, find one and take care of it. It may not win you many races, but I can almost guarantee it's going to win your heart.
Okay. So, the Audi S6 V10. Let's talk about some highlights. Started off in 2007, you got a 5.2 liter, 435 horsepower V10 engine, naturally aspirated, made it to a 6-speed ZF automatic transmission.